In ancient China, death was never the end. It was a transfer of power, a shift in duty, not just for the dead, but for the living. It was a world where fire became currency, paper carried prayers, and ritual kept the spirit realm in balance. Because the afterlife wasn't paradise. It was a mirror of the imperial court, full of judges, prisons, bribes, and consequences. Families didn't just mourn their dead, they sent offerings to uphold their status, burned joss paper to ease their trials, and whispered prayers that no forgotten soul would return seeking justice. Let's take a look at how ancient China fought the dead with paper, fire, and ghosts. To the Chinese, the afterlife wasn't heaven or hell. It was a bureaucracy, a sprawling underworld called DU, or Earth Prison, with judges, scribes, and courts. Depicted as a subterranean maze with various levels and chambers. When someone died, their soul didn't float to paradise. It went on trial. Each soul faced 10 courts of hell. Some historic texts mention they were 18. Every sin was examined. Cheated your neighbor? Lied to your parents? Then expect torture. Those found guilty could be sliced, burned, crushed, or sent back as animals. Or worse, hungry ghosts. But there was a loophole. Just like in life, you could bribe the system. Starting as early as the Eastern Han Dynasty, around 25 to 220 CE, families began burning simple paper offerings for the dead. By the Tang Dynasty in the 8th century, this evolved into what we now call joss paper, a form of spirit money meant to grease the wheels of the afterlife bureaucracy. Joss paper, often made from bamboo or rice paper, was stamped with symbols of wealth, silver, gold, or the seal of the Bank of Hell. Burning it wasn't destruction, it was transfer, a way to send goods through fire into the afterlife. By the Song Dynasty, 960 to 1279, it wasn't just money. Paper houses, horses, even paper concubines were offered, ensuring comfort and status in the next world. The more you burned, the more you sent. Money for bribes, clothes for warmth, and servants to clean your ghostly palace in DU. Today, the tradition continues, often updated with modern luxuries. Paper Rolexes, Gucci handbags, flat-screen TVs. Some hell notes come in denominations of 1 billion yuan or more, featuring King Yama, the terrifying judge of the underworld, on the face. Because in the Chinese view of death, corruption never dies. Even the king of hell might accept a bribe if the right offering reaches him. But not every spirit rested. Some returned angry, lost, starving. In Chinese folklore, they were called Yi, hungry ghosts. The concept dates back over 2,000 years, appearing in early Taoist and Buddhist texts. Especially in Buddhism, hungry ghosts were the lowest realm of rebirth, a punishment for greed, betrayal, or neglect. They were souls who had no descendants to honor them, or those who died unjustly, violently, or with unresolved resentment. But once a year, the gates of DU, the underworld, were believed to swing open. It happened during the 7th lunar month, known as Ghost Month. By the Tang Dynasty in the 8th century, the Ghost Festival, or Zhongyuanjie, had become a major event. Held on the 15th day of the 7th lunar month, it was part spiritual ritual, part public performance, and part survival strategy. In some regions, people float lanterns down rivers, guiding lost souls back to the underworld. A tradition traced back to the Ulambana Sutra, a Buddhist scripture translated into Chinese in the 3rd century CE, which inspired the festival's modern form. Today, the festival is called the Hungry Ghost Festival. and is celebrated in East Asia and Southeast Asia, particularly in areas with Chinese cultural influence, to propitiate the ghosts of the deceased. The holiday is still celebrated on the 15th day of the 7th month on the Chinese lunar calendar, falling in July or August on the Gregorian calendar. For emperors and nobles, death wasn't just a journey. It was a fortress, a kingdom sealed in stone. Across dynasties, the elite built vast tombs, vaults meant to protect their legacy and power. But they weren't just built to impress the living. They were defenses against grave robbers and restless spirits. In 210 BCE, Emperor Qin Shi Huang, China's first emperor, ordered the construction of the Terracotta Army. Over 8,000 life-size soldiers buried to guard him in the afterlife. His tomb, never fully excavated, was said to contain rivers of mercury and a map of the heavens. By the Han Dynasty, emperors and nobles were entombed in suits made of pure jade, stitched together with gold, silver, or silk thread, depending on their rank. Jade was believed to preserve the body, repel evil, and grant immortality. Other tombs hid mirrors meant to confuse spirits, and charms with talismans, like the 5 bats of happiness or protective inscriptions carved on bronze. Some were buried with coins on their eyes, payment for safe passage across the spirit realm or to keep their gaze shut in death. But no one, not even emperors, wanted to face a vengeful ghost, especially not a woman, killed unjustly. In ancient China, the dead weren't silent, and in the afterlife, status still mattered, and peace must be paid for. Rituals weren't for comfort, they were protection. Even today, millions still burn joss paper, honor ancestors, and fear the return of those forgotten, because the fear of the dead is often just the fear of what we left unsaid. If you could send one thing into the afterlife, what would it be?